Hey guys, I'm Mike Crawford. My good-looking co-worker is Todd Krager. Now, most of you guys in the room know us as Stevens Amundsen, or all of you know us as Stevens Amundsen. Do any of you know us as Metso, or?
We do.
We do? You know us as both?
Yes.
Okay. So, Metso acquired Spedella in the fall of 2001. And in doing so, they acquired Stevens Amundsen as well, right? Todd started with Stevens Amundsen in 1995, and I started in 1990. Okay, so now Metso, how much do you guys know about Metso? How big they are globally? We're in over 50 countries, 36,000 employees, several different product lines. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to send around some of this. Just ignore that name Spedella because it should really say Metso on it. But these will just give you a general overview of the overall offering that Metso does. But that's not what we're here for today. I just want to give you an overview of what Metso does globally and all the different product lines. Okay, so if we go on to the next one here. Metso worldwide, bulk material handling, apron, feeders, paving, ship loading, unloading systems, not like we used to do many years ago. Right, all the car pullers, process technology. There's a really good brochure there on the process technology. The grinding, the kilns, crushing and screening, which you guys are probably most familiar with. And when we hand out the binders, there is pass this one around too, because that right there shows all the different names that Metso has acquired. You guys will maybe see some of these names. You know, not just Stevens Amundsen, the Nordberg, Alice Chalmers, all of the different lines in the quarries and the pits, right? And it's all Metso now. What was Spedella is Metso and then some. Nordberg was originally one of the main names of Metso. Okay, so in June of this year, we had a kickoff, and screening conveyor solutions, and conveyor solutions, we became one group. And now the main offering to you guys, when I hand out the binders to you, there are a couple brochures in there where there's products that I probably shouldn't have put in there. It doesn't mean you guys aren't going to have access to them down the road. But the truck box liners right in the front, on down the line, you guys might have access to them. Right now, we're still overviewing exactly who we're obligated to contractually. Same with the trial square and dust control on in there. But look, other than that, everything else in there, the main conveyor components, conveyor accessories, the wear-resistant sheeting, right? Those are the main staples of our product line. For you guys offering, right? There it is right there. I got ahead of myself by one slide. Okay, so, and of course the belting. I almost left that one out. Now I see you guys had belt service in here earlier, right?
We did.
Yeah, okay. And maybe what we'll do right at the end, we'll touch on belting last, and Todd might jump in on that. Belting's something that we've been around for over 100 years, but things have changed over the years. So now what I want to do, get out of that one. Now I want to go over to this one. Now this one kind of takes a minute or two to boot up. This is the past. This isn't what we offer today. But I really wanted to bring it with me, even though it was way too heavy for my carry-on baggage. And this shows everything Stevens Amundsen did years ago, all the products that we did. Now there is still maybe sliders and a few products in there, but for the most part, it's all the bulk material handling equipment. Just shows you, gives you a little bit of the history of Stevens Amundsen. Sailmaster bearing line. You guys familiar with that line? Yeah. Manufactured, engineered, and designed in Belleville, right? The plant where I started with. The lady who's our fill-in front desk receptionist, she started on the Sailmaster bearing line when she was 18. Yeah, I sat and listened to her for
One of our acquisitions when we were bought out by Ford Warner, Lord Warner wanted one thing from us, and one thing only, and that was a Steelmaster bearing line. They got it, kept us for like 3 or 4 years, got rid of everything else, but kept the Steelmaster.
I'm just gonna do a brief. I'm not gonna get too much into this, combined with that book passing around. So you can see we're one of the frontier companies with the idlers. So in 1927, I've actually got a good article too I'll pass around. This is actually, I'll find it somewhere. It was a very big thing for Belleville to get Stevens Adamson coming in. And because it was a very small town at the time, and the paper had a headline about it. Very, very excited to get them. 1958, they opened a manufacturing facility in Clarksdale. And I'll get on more into that, but basically the Belleville plant has just recently closed. The company took a big undertaking financially to put all the equipment under one roof in the Clarksdale, Mississippi plant. They put several $1 million into that plant in the last about a year, Cut?
$7 million.
Yeah. So, and they're gonna look for, they're already looking for a good return on that. So, I mean, with all the equipment from Belleville under that roof in Clarksdale, so now, it used to be more, the Clarksdale plant was just, I guess you could say assembly plant, right, Todd? And
Right.
Belleville plant was more of a job shop. So now, the heavy duty idlers were done in Belleville, and the light and midi duty idlers were done in Clarksdale. Now Clarksdale is doing it all. Right? I don't know how familiar you guys are with the oil sands in Fort McMurray, Canada, but that's been one of our #1 customers since the 70s. One of our plant managers, and he's our technical manager now, Corey Goody. He went out there in the 70s, and I'll show you in here the idlers they have in there. They're actually SEMA F, and they're working on a SEMA G rating for the idlers right now. We manufacture, and there's 1 or 2 of our competitors that manufacture idlers that are actually a G rating, which is still being established. F is the highest that SEMA recognizes. Here's the SEMA book too. We'll get that going around.
You've got books.
We have. Yeah.
You don't read
They
that.
did everything themselves.
Yep.
Everything was self-contained. You were your own.
Okay, so there you see where it comes, when it became part of Spadella. And as I said, in the fall of 2001, Metso acquired Spadella, and I think they learned real quickly that they acquired a very big juggernaut. The Dynapack compaction paving, they sold that line off right away, and they got a really good price for it. Gardner Denver down the hole drills, that was part 2, and they sold that line off. I was actually involved with that line a bit. So here's some of the older idler series. And some of these ones, some of the ship loading and unloading systems still utilize these today, and they'll call in, they want replacement rolls for idlers that have been put back in the late 60s, early 70s. There's all the idler series. To be honest with you guys, one of the things we're doing right now is we have such a huge idler line that we can offer some things our competitors don't, like offset frames. So there's only one of our competitors that offer offset frames. Regreasable, some of our competitors. So we're looking, what we want to do is we want to always be able to offer our whole line, but we're not going to stock as much of it as we used to. And it'll be more of a, if somebody still wants an offset frame or a particular regreasable idler that you got 20, 25 years ago, we'll be able to supply parts 98% of the time, unless it's a real rarity. But we're going to try just so we can be more dedicated to what we do best. Okay, so I'm going to go on. All right, let's go get right into the idlers. Okay, so see these 2 idlers right here, and let's try out this. Okay, so that big idler right there, that is a 60 millimeter SEMA F rated idler that's used in Syncrude, Fort McMurray, and the oil sands. 84-inch, 7-inch diameter roll, as I mentioned, 60mm shaft. The little one there, that's an 18-inch SEMA B, so you guys would see that in the real smaller operations, the conveyors were the 18-inch conveyors. But you're talking a big difference in price, big difference in technology, and when you actually see them, you've seen them together in person, eh, Todd, right? The one's huge, the other one looks like a dinky car. But that shows the extreme of what we offer, on the heavy duty, right down to the very light duty. Alright, let's go back. Let's take a look at these. How many of you guys are familiar with garland idlers? That's one of the idlers that's extremely utilized in Fort McMurray, as I mentioned. And some of the rolls are interchangeable, actually, from the garlands to the fixed frames. The advantage of garlands, the irregular lump sides, belt training, transition point change, right? Those are the advantage of the, there's actually not a huge section in the SEMA book on garland idlers. They're still getting everything straightened around on the garland idlers as far as SEMA. How many of you guys are familiar with SEMA, Conveyor Equipment Manufacturers Association? Right now, we are very fortunate that one of our longstanding managers, Warren Chandler, of our Belleville group, he's got 42 years in the business, he's the president of SEMA right now. They change every year. And as of, what was it, beginning of January, Todd? March, yeah. And they had their kickoff meeting there, I think, well, a couple months ago, right? Well, March, he's been down there a couple times already now. But, yeah, I mean, Warren's had the experience, and that's what they do. You know, and next year it might be somebody from one of our competitors who's the president of SEMA. We actually were one of the founding members of SEMA in 1933. There was 6 companies that established SEMA. Am I right on that number, Todd?
Can I add something, Mike?
Absolutely.
SEMA, just so you guys know, what SEMA does for the industry is basically regulate it and tells us what we have to do for belt measurements. So when you're looking at a belt, you got a 36-inch belt. It's always belt width plus 9 inches for your foot spacing on idlers. So if you got a 24-inch belt, just add 9 inches to it, and that's your spacing from foot pattern to foot pattern. That's standard industry. SEMA says that's what you gotta do. SEMA tells you what roll diameter or what the bearing loads have to be. So they're very involved, so we don't cheat in undersized products. And every SEMA class from B, C, D, E, and F, but you guys for the most part will be only involved with B's, C's, D's, and E's for the most part in this area. Probably 90% of the industry in this area can be B's and C's most likely. But they tell you it's gonna be a 17mm shaft. It tells you it's gonna be a 3/4 inch shaft. And you can't get away from that. It's just SEMA just says do. So you have to be aware, so you know, when you're looking at conveyors and they got a 24-inch belt, whether it's us or Superior, or FMC, or Precision, the bolt hole spacing is always the same. Doesn't change.
That book that I'm passing around, that's the 6th edition. They're actually currently working on the 7th.
And the only difference you'll see is in power plants. Do you guys call a lot of power plants?
I don't.
There might be some wide base in there, what we call a wide base. And if you see one, it'll be belt width plus 15 inches. And those will be wide base idlers.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
So if you see that, just tell us it's a wide base. That's all we need to know is it's a wide base.
Yeah, that's through a couple of the CSRs off over the years.
So,
And that's how I started this company as a customer service rep, so I remember that one well.
The frame.
So that kind of shows all benefits of a garland.
If you guys see garlands out in the industry, if you do, there's no, as to put it, there's no SEMA standards on garlands. Everybody makes theirs differently. Can lengths are different, the hooks connecting the rolls together are different, and the hooks on the channel are always different.
What would be the typical industry that would use those?
Long overland conveyors, turning corners and stuff.
Like mining.
Especially with the
Mining,
irregular size
mining.
material. Yeah.
Okay.
That's where the.
So you won't see a whole lot,
Not in here.
not in west-eastern PA, you
No.
won't see a whole lot in this area.
That's what happened.
You might run across a little bit up in, northern part,
With the shale.
yeah, you might. But, you know, I've been covering this territory, well, until I think my new position. And I've only sold in the 18, 19 years I worked for Metso now, SA, I've only had 2 orders for garlands. They're not very popular, they're not very, you run across them occasionally,
Okay.
but keep in mind, we have to have, when you do, have to have samples of them. We need measurements, because none of them, you just can't say it's for an 18-inch belt. That means nothing to us when it comes to garlands.
First, it shows the quick release features of the garlands. One of the main benefits too, to get it out of operation quickly. 3-roll, 5-roll. Yeah, with the garland idlers, we are one of the frontier companies with the garland idlers. And as I mentioned with Corey Doty in the oil sands in the 70s, he kind of tinkered and tested and got the garlands so that to the level they are for us now, and the customers who utilize them.
Go back to the 21, go to Idler's General. And then go to 2100 series and go up from there, I think.
I would have.
Okay.
I was getting there slowly, Todd.
Okay.
Okay. So, I kind of already covered some of this, but talks about the seamen, how they rate divers. Todd actually hit on it better than I did. All right, let's get into. You guys, you're gonna know almost all of this, but there might be the odd thing that's you haven't seen.
Can you go back to that first one, please?
Absolutely. So now, our return rolls are 3 inches longer than a lot of our competitors. That's the number I have in my head.
Inch and a half to 3 inches in returns, most likely. Returns are one thing that SEMA, even though the bolt hole spacing still has to be belt width +9 or belt width +15 on wide base, SEMA doesn't regulate to us what that roll has to be lengthwise on the return side. So all the manufacturers, let's try to lock ourselves in. So we all have our own brackets and different roll lengths. So when you run across the competitor, our rolls, even though it is for a 24, 30, 36 inch belt, SEMA C, SEMA B, SEMA D, our rolls will not fit a superior bracket on returns. They will not fit a PPI. They will not fit a leg belt.
And you're gonna get a maintenance guy who's not gonna want to change his brackets.
And that's for everybody. It's same with FMC on their brackets. Only fits their rolls, won't fit ours.
And it's a,
So that's one thing SEMA hasn't dictated to what we can and can't do. All we gotta do is go by the belt with +9. But the reason why we went with what we did in our return brackets, if you can see them, it's what you call a reverse crank on them. And we made our return rolls 1.5 to 3 inches wider than our competitors for a lot of different reasons, but the main reason was so your belt has surface contact to that roll all the time. So when it goes off track and starts moving side by side, it has some place to go. With that reverse crank, you got an extra 2 inches, that belt can go off. And the biggest damage on conveyors is damage to the belt. And when it starts cutting on those brackets, there's no place to go. It just destroys a belt. So we took it one step further. We did the opposite, what we call a reverse crank. So the belt has a place to go without damaging the belt. But we want more surface contact on the belt too, for tracking purposes anyway.
Can you replace just the center roll or just the wing roll, or do you have to?
Yes,
Okay.
they're all 3 rolls the same. no matter what class you're in. On
Until you get into the picking table either.
Yeah, on the standard troughters, they're all 3 rolls are equal roll lengths.
Now, no time like the present, you kind of hit upon it. Replacement rolls, so somebody's got brackets, they don't want to change out their brackets because they're in a vascularized spot. We do build replacement rolls, we call them retro rolls, other people's rolls, to go in their frame. Same thing, we'll build rolls to go in other people's either frame. We actually were one of the ones later getting into it. I know personally Todd and I both thought we should have got into it sooner. We got into doing it about 9 years ago, but our competitors were building our equivalent rolls to go in other people's frames way before we were. And we're actually in Belleville plant, now in the Clarksdale plant, we're stocking several different competitors. We call them retro rolls, so they will go into competitors' frames. So if you go in there and you got somebody's, I don't wanna say ABC either, and he says, hey, you know, I don't want to change these frames out, the frames are still good, can you just get me the rolls to go in? The application data sheets, that's where they come into play, and a picture is worth 1,000 words, modern technology now. You send us a picture and give us the basic information. Ideally, filling out that will help, but the basic information, shaft, roll length, felt, any other information, material that you can give us, sealing arrangement, anything that he specifically wants, right? And as I say, I know in Belleville we were stocking about 6 different competitors' rolls, and they're more to the Canadian market. We did stock some for the US market, and I believe that's one of Clarksdale's main, they're gonna look at doing that more intensively, aren't they, Todd?
Yes.
Yeah.
And rolling can, are they synonymous words?
Yeah. Warren Chandler, who's the president of CMAP right now, and the gentleman I started working for many years ago, he hates the term can. He doesn't like it. Roll is the synonymous word, I guess, Todd?
In the States, and it's been, topic of discussion for years. We call a return roll a roll. We call a roller in a troffer a can.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. I guess it's like the East-West thing. Why do you call them sodas and why do you call them pops?
I think it's just a Canadian thing with him, and he started out as a draftsman, and he thinks it's a lower term to call a roll a can.
But to us, it doesn't really matter. When you call customer service, you say, replacement roll or replacement can. We know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, we like cans.
Yeah. I like cans too.
So, let's get, okay, so, let's hit on this one here. That might show us. So here's some of the terms: inline frame, offset, impact, flat return, V-type return, self-training troughing, self-training return. All the garlands, channel inset. You guys see many of the channel insets on the portable systems and everything? No? No familiarity?
Couldn't hurt to go over.
Do you know what the difference between a standard trough or, you know what a channel inset is?
No.
Okay. Explain to them what a channel inset is.
Channel inset is more, they call it almost like a bed box, and it's to sit down in, and it's a lot on the portable conveyors, utilized more than anything else, right, Todd?
Yeah, basically a standard trougher sits up on top of the angle, on the trusses, sits on top, you bolt it together. Channel inset bolts on the inside of that channel. And what what it came out was because of height restrictions on portable plants on the highway. So if they could just lower it by 2 or 3 inches, it was a tremendous thing for them. But they get mounted inside the channel, not on top of the channel.
The
Yes.
12, sorry.
You'll see them on all portable, like a lot of portable plants, portable crushing plants, portable screening plants. You won't see them much inside the plants themselves. You won't see them, you'll see a little bit of them at maybe some asphalt plants. But it's probably only gonna represent about maybe 10% of the stuff you see out in the field when it comes to channel insets.
And there are a couple of our competitors who, they make that their day-to-day bread and butter, and they're a little stronger on the channel insets than we are, but that's one of the things at Clarksdale plant. revamping and all the money that's been put in that plant, they're looking at that more closely, and we're gonna look at having a stronger operation on the channel inset. Hey, Todd?
Yeah.
200, 600 series, 3000 series, 2250. Okay, so just did you guys like that number in the middle? That's the 25 millimeter shaft size. The number in the middle, the number on the end, well, so if this is a 2255, that'd be a 5-inch can roll, and then this number here is the shaft, right? So if it says, 4395, 5-inch diameter, 4195 is a better analogy. 19 millimeter shaft. We'll get into that a little more. There's a Century series. Are they gonna rename that Century series? They're probably gonna look into that a little bit, right?
About 3,000 series.
Yeah. Let's get out of there.
So Garland and Canterbury are pretty much one and the same then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just hit quickly on the synchro lube. There, now you start seeing,
Go back a little bit. I think this is kind of interesting when you start looking at regreasable idlers. And, there are a lot of our competitors they've basically discontinued or just made them a special for regreasables. And we take great pride in our regreasable system and how it's done. Most of our competitors with a regreasable system, you cannot use air on them. You have to hand pump them, or you blow the seals out. With ours, doesn't matter what side you grease from, you can put as much air as you want on the thing, you will not blow the seals out. But it's unique, and it's a system we call synchro lube system. Go to your first slide there, Mike. There. Yeah, keep it right there. All the shafts on the synchro lube system are hollow shafts, so grease can flow through them all at once. And most of our competitors, what they'll do is, you don't mind this, do you?
no, get in here.
Most of our competitors, that's mine anyway. Most of our competitors will just put a hole right here in the bearing cavity, and what they want to do is push pump grease through this thing and to build up some pressure and just have grease go in. All you're gonna do, we've taken it one step further, and we've got these little compensating tubes we put inside there. Very small people at the factory get into that tube, and they put these little tubes in there. We made the machines to do this, and it's just plastic tubing. And it goes in the shaft and goes up the shaft. So when the grease, and what it does, when the grease is pumped through and it reaches the other side, it wants to back pressure. So grease now is going in those tubes evenly through all 6 bearing points. So when you see grease come out of the seal here, it'll come out of here, here, and all the way across them at the same time. So all the bearing cavities are getting greased at the same time. The next one.
Now, one of Warren's pet peeves over the years has always been, if you're gonna have regreasable idlers, maintenance guys have to regrease them. There's no point in having them if you're not gonna.
So when you regrease them with the peculiar right there. So what you're doing, the grease is going up in this bearing cavity right here. Our competitors just have the grease, you just grease this cavity, and that's it. The old grease is discharged into the can. Just goes in the can, so you don't know if they're being regreased whatsoever. The pressure relief they use is on their zerk. That's where they get the relief, the pressure off the zerks, and the grease when they build up pressure. So when they pop the grease thing off the zerk, you'll see the grease come down the zerk. That's the way they do it. We took it one step further. We have it go through the bearing cavity, and then when the seal's on there, our seals, the grease goes through the bearing, re-greases that bearing, and then goes to the seal, and it purges that seal out and cleans that seal out. And each seal, you can see right there, has purge holes. There's 4 purge holes on every seal. And when grease comes out of those purge holes, you'll see dirty grease come out first, then you'll start seeing clean grease come out. Stop. It's re-greased. You know it's greased. you get all the contaminants out, you get all the water out, everything out, and it's done. Every roller is connected using compression fittings. They're just not floating tubes in there. So they're all connected on compression fittings. So you can't, it's a sealed system. You don't have anything to release. I mean, it stays in there. And then the grease comes out on all the seals. So when you start greasing this side here, or the other side, it doesn't matter. All 6 of those bearing cavities get greased at the same time. It's by far, and I think all of our competitors say by far, it's the best greasing system out there, by far. Problem is, people just don't grease anymore.
And the money there a little bit.
I was down in the Caribbean a couple, 3 or 4 years ago, and we've been selling this guy idlers for years and years. He says, Todd, Jamaican guy, Billy Segura. He says, Todd, I can't, rolls are failing right and left. They're just failing right and left. I said, Billy, you're greasing, aren't you? Every week we grease. So I get down there, just gonna take a drink on first. And I said, Billy, let's get your maintenance guys, let's just go, and we'll start greasing. Grab it, some grease and some guns, let's go. I just watched the guy, he just walked up. He got about 10 rollers up. I said, come on back here, boy. Come on back here. Go back to that first one.
Hopefully it wasn't African American.
Sat there and pumped 57 pumps before grease came out. They weren't re-greasing it. They were just putting grease back in the shafts. That was it. Before we got to the 3rd roller, go get another case of grease. So when you see this in the field, someone says, they're failing, especially when it comes to re-greasable, they're not re-greasable. They just take a couple pumps, will do it. But those hollow shafts take a lot of grease. A lot of it.
So then you're saying you can re-lube them from one side or the
It
other?
doesn't matter what side. That roller does not know what side you're greasing on.
Do they come lubed from the factory?
There's the grease dip there on the end.
That's all the grease going through the whole system right there. Yeah, we fill them full of grease when they leave the factory. We tell customers if they're sitting in your warehouse, especially in warm climates, or it's sitting on the job site for a month or so, re-grease them before you put them on.
And it's correctly greased in the field once you can see the grease purge?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You cannot over-grease them.
Okay. So you can use more
where
than
do
20.
where do you think you see the industry heading here?
Sealed for life ball bearings. It used to be, I would say probably within, probably 5 or 6 years ago, it was probably still 60-40, 60 for sealed for life, 40% for re-greasable. I would venture to say now that re-greasable is probably less than 20% of our business. And the people that buy re-greasable, they only buy it for one reason and one reason only. They want a tapered roller bearing, and that's it. And I keep telling you guys in the bearing business, what's a tapered roller bearing do when it's spinning? It throws grease off the bearing. If you don't re-grease it, that grease is gonna break down and become oil and just leak on out.
What do you see with Magnus here?
All sealed.
Yeah, sealed.
Yeah.
The Canadian market went all sealed inline frame about 12 years ago. And then we went that way. Because we had such a large offering, we weren't concentrating just on that one.
But
And now,
we've
Even all the
seen,
FFCs that we're replacing were greasable, but
yeah.
specifically said.
I tell people to this day, the re-greasables have its place. There's nothing about that. But you gotta be very cautious, because if they look at the cost now, and if they're not gonna re-grease, they sit there and say, I'm only gonna grease once every 6 months. Don't put re-greasables in there. Just walk away from it, because you'll have nothing but failures.
Well, it's in every industry. I mean, overall, manpower's down, but demand for production's up. So they don't, those places don't have the maintenance guys to be fooling with that shit anymore either.
Yeah, and we are not as a company gonna get rid of the re-greasable systems. We're
No.
just not gonna get rid of it. Will we have it as a readily available product line? Probably not, but at least we still make it, it's still available to everybody. And I'm still a firm believer on re-greasables, I really am. And I think one of these days, you're gonna see it jump back up a little bit, when they start seeing all these sealed for life ball bearings failing, because people are playing too many different games with these ball bearings.
Who's still out there making reasonable?
Just us.
Just
And Continental.
And Continental.
Yeah. Yeah, rest
You
of
just
them,
mentioned
rest
that.
of them, half
No,
of
they had
them.
FMC reasonable in there.
They have reversibles.
Yeah, but they're probably 95% all sealed stuff now. They
From
got,
FMC.
yeah, they get those end caps made in China now, and assembled in Mexico or something, and they just press them together now. So,
All right, why don't we move on to the belt cleaners?
did you go through all the product line on SEMA, the SEMA Bs and Cs, Mike, or anything? Or
We can
touch
come
base?
back to
Okay.
it, I mean, and it's in the book too, right, under riders, there should be, you guys don't have the SEMA B, SEMA C. There are some more brochures I brought with me. And there might be, I put those binders together pretty quick, so I might have cheated on a couple of binders, you might be missing a couple of,
Yeah, you did, I don't have any.
you don't have any? All right, I got them all up here for you. That must have been the last one of the day that I put together there.
Or the first one.
Yeah, just like, okay. All right, so carryback, right? One of the biggest friends for somebody in the belt cleaner industry. Risk for injuries, material buildup, mistracking, common problems. Some of these pictures are good. You gonna let me know if any of these are the pictures you've taken? All right. How many of you guys have installed belt cleaners? It's even been a little while since I've installed one. Todd injured his hand on one there a while back at a trade show. Everybody likes to tease him about that.
Might as well, I sliced it up, maybe it's 6 stitches. So I'm not the one to install belt cleaners.
Can I ask a question before we go here?
Yeah, absolutely.
SEMA B, SEMA C, SEMA D, what differentiates the difference between a B to a C to a D? Is it quality, is it can size, is it angle?
It goes back to the envelope of SEMA that
Go back.
Tom was talking about with the shaft. Yeah, we can go right
Go
back.
back to your, you should just start, go to the idlers, and let's just go through the 2100 series, 22, and the general, probably. Keep on going.
I would imagine it's gonna be under here, or let's see. Table of contents. That's it. There's nothing else. What's going on? I've got it probably in another presentation, but the SEMA, to back up a bit, it's load, right, and all your belt lifts, your application, your material, the envelope of SEMA ratings. That's where it comes into play. If you have 18-inch, 24-inch belt, light material, then you're gonna be a SEMA B, right? And depending on how fast it's moving, tons per hour, the application data sheets will help out.
So the further we go up the alphabet, the
Right.
heavier
You
it
wanna
is.
write this down? 2100 series,
Okay.
SEMA B. So 2100 series, 2200 series are all SEMA Bs. They have 17 millimeter shafts.
There we go. Yeah, I find it, that's all
They've got 17 millimeter shafts. That's how you can tell a SEMA B. SEMA B comes in 4 and 5 inch cans.
That goes back to what I already showed.
Which is in your, okay, good, so
Yeah.
in your SEMA B
So
catalog.
2100, anything, an odd number for us, 2100 series comes in offset. Offset idlers. I put a picture at the bottom down there, that's an offset versus an inline on top.
SEMA B, SEMA C.
So that bottom one will be a 2100 series, the top one will be a 2200 series,
Oh, okay, I get it.
okay? So any like odd numbers, 2100 series will be offsets. And that's the same, it runs through our whole book. When you get to SEMA Cs, it starts with a 4. SEMA Ds start with 5, SEMA E starts with 6. And then the next number after that, like 4100 series or 4300 series, offsets. 4200 series, 4400 series, in line. One will be regreasable, one will be sealed for life. SEMA D only comes in one. That'll be a 5100 series. It will be an inline, regreasable. It just changed a little bit. It changed a little bit.
You went on.
Wait, I'll get better. The SEMA E's go to 6300 series.
Okay.
So,
The 17 in the middle, like I had
You
on.
had me there, you just
well,
said
you
you
can
did.
use us too.
That's a shaft size, right? 3400, 40 millimeter, right? 17.
but what you guys,
5 and 6
but for
again.
your industry here, disregard everything on this side of this page. Just disregard it. This is what you guys are gonna be 90% involved with. You won't see a whole lot of this 3400 series stuff. It's gonna be all the SEMA class, the Bs, the Cs, the Ds, and the Es. For the majority of your business, that's what you're gonna be dealing with.
Will our end user normally know what SEMA series he has?
He's gonna tell you one or two things. He's gonna say, I don't know, it's a 5-inch can, and it's sealed for a 36 inch. You're gonna sit there and say, okay, let's do process of elimination now. What comes in a 5-inch can? A SEMA B and a SEMA C.
Right.
What's your shaft size?
Shaft size is how.
That's what you can go by. Only on Bs and Cs you can go on shaft size. You get to SEMA Ds, now it's gonna throw you for a loop.
The shaft size being the hollow shaft inside the roller.
Yeah.
That's the shaft size.
Yeah, it's coming out this.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just
Now,
double checking, I wanna make sure I
On
know.
on SEMA Ds, oh, you're gonna tell you, we have a SEMA, oh, I got a 6-inch can, but I don't know what class it is. You can't go by shaft size on SEMA Ds. Cause we all turn down our shafts, they're still 3/4 inch coming out, but inside they're 1 inch. So, look at the end caps, look at the stands, the frames, it'll tell you usually.
That last number is gonna tell you the can size, 4195 and 4196. Over here, 3407, 3406, G stands for Garland,
Yeah, but we don't
right?
interested
But
in
that's
Yeah.
not you guys
So
gonna do.
magazine,
Usually, you know,
is all 4400 stuff.
If the customer tells you it's a 4-inch can, it'll always be,
So that's the
probably
user.
99% of the time, it'll be a SEMA B.
C.
If he says it's a SEMA,
Oh, SEMA
a
C.
5-inch can,
C in line, C.
probably 70% of the time it'll be a SEMA C,
Yeah.
for the most part.
And your angle is measured strictly off the horizontal, correct? Your angle is measured strictly off the horizontal.
Now, one thing Mike hasn't covered yet, and we should cover this real quick. Every single one of our idlers, except for one class, and that's the 2200 series. Everything else that we have has a 2-degree tilt in the frame.
What?
A 2-degree tilt in the frame. 2-degree tilt.
And that's one of the things we're looking closely at.
So when you guys get idler shipped in here, you're gonna see an arrow on the end bracket. And that's the direction the belt's supposed to run. With that tilt. So if you look at one of our idlers, the end brackets are tilted 2 degrees.
So it's not
If you-
bent.
If you look at the top, they're just tucked in like this for tracking purposes. It helps that belt stay in that trough better.
Makes sense.
And your competitors?
Do not do it.
So then, it is tilted towards the direction of the belt?
Yes.
In the direction the belt's running?
Yes.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's an added benefit, and we're having a discussion right now, how long we're gonna keep it. A lot of us wanna keep it for a long time. There's others that see it as an extra cost when we're building the
Yeah, so you have to be aware, the only one we didn't do is the new 2200 series. When we came out with the new SEMA B, 10, 15, whatever years it was, I can't remember now, we came out with the new SEMA B. And we wanted an inline ball bearing, with a little bit better frame, and also a full foot bracket. Because most SEMA Bs only have one bolt hole on the brackets. We wanted one with a full foot bracket. What they did that's the original B like this, is one bolt hole. Stability wise, that thing will rock a little bit. You can still use one bolt if you want to, you get the full foot, so you don't get rid of that rocking motion. Plus the frame is like 25% stronger now. So you can use it a lot, you can take that B and put it in a little bit better applications, a little more bigger rock and so forth. But you're gonna, a lot of your guys are gonna ask you, tell them when you're selling these things that, does have a 2-degree tilt, and be aware of that error. We've had a lot of people over the years, most people do know it already, it's been around for 50 years. But you're gonna get someone say, hey, I got 50 troffers shipped in here, and saw this arrow on it, we didn't know what it meant, so we just installed the items.
So
Yeah.
where on the frame would the arrow be?
Go back.
I was just looking for that, we'll go back and just,
I mean, just
Go
general.
ahead, go ahead,
general.
right there.
Right there.
It'll be on this frame, it'll be, well, not this frame, but it'll be an arrow right here.
Okay, so on the end,
On every end bracket,
And
will have,
upright.
every end bracket on ours will have 3 things on it. It'll have the belt width, 36, 42, 24, whatever. You'll have a 20-degree or 35 or 45-degree stamp in it, and your arrow, and what class it is. It'll say 2100 series, 2200 series, 42. It'll also come with a barcode.
If you take a look
So
at
you-
your technical bulletin.
that won't be on there anymore.
Yeah, that
Mark.
won't be there.
We've
Take a look at your
got
technical
stuff
bulletin.
been on there for years, that barcode's still on there.
Really?
White sticker will not come off. That sticker has a lot to do with it. It's got an MC number on it that tells us when it was made and who it was made for.
yeah, I was
Is
just
it
looking
a
for that.
pressure sensitive
Now,
barcode, or are you talking about a,
well, the bar, I'll tell you, the
I
barcode.
mean the label, or is it riveted?
No, it's a stuck on a sticker label.
Oh, okay.
The barcode, we came out with them years ago to satisfy one customer and one customer only.
Yeah, I was looking
Let's
to
see
see
what that
on the other one.
So it reads on their system.
Okay.
Because there are SKU numbers or Mino numbers and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So we had to do something, so with the Chicago warehouse up there and everything, we had to put these stickers on everything we shipped to them. So, but those things mean a lot, so, you get a customer calls you up and says, this thing failed within 3 months, get that number off of it. And we're gonna say, we sold that to you 3 years ago.
I just installed it.
Yeah, I just installed it last week. So, but one thing on back to the arrow thing, the reason I brought this up, and you will see this a lot of places, reversing belts. You're gonna say, okay, which way do I run the arrow? Doesn't matter, alternate the rollers. Have one arrow going one way, the next one going the other way. So you're fighting against each other. So, a lot of guys will sit there and say they want to put washer under one side to bring it back out. Washer doesn't do anything. All you're doing is tilt the whole frame. You're not drawing those things into an angle. So we've got reversing belts on a reversing conveyor, run the things opposite. The one in normal, turn the other one around backwards, back to normal, reverse them, just alternate each one. And you will have no problems whatsoever.
And not a problem then, obviously installing yours on a mixture of manufacturers.
Now, one thing on the troughing side doesn't matter because we might be maybe 1/16 of an inch on the height a little bit somewhere. All we care about is the oval space. We all play games. Our rolls might be 1/8 of an inch off or 1/16 of an inch, maybe 1/4 inch in length or something like that. But a 36-inch belt doesn't know you're off a 1/16 or 1/8 inch height, so it doesn't matter. You can have
Yeah,
us,
I think so.
PTI, Superior, FMC, Continental, and that belt's just gonna still be running. Now, when you run tests, or customers wanna run tests against us, don't put ours back in the load zone. Get ours up on the belt as far as you can get them. Let someone else's fail back there.
Yeah, like I said, backing height, Todd got into the meat and potatoes there. Yeah, the backing height, sometimes you will get the odd one that there is a huge difference in the backing height, and then you have to
Put a washer
shim
or
and
something.
put them together.
Is that a promotion for Horton's coffee?
When I was showing that to one of my coworkers, he said, well, we knew you took the picture, because you
Yeah,
got your copies
exactly.
in right there. You guys have many Tim Hortons down around here?
They're just starting to come to.
Are they?
Yeah, there's none here.
That's a communist country coffee.
And the,
Venezuela.
No, it's from Canada.
Canada.
Yeah.
Go to Canada, it's.
Tim Hortons, hockey player.
Tim,
that's-
Tim
that's
Morris is
social,
actually a hockey
yeah, that's
player,
not-
and his
that's
partner was
social.
Ron Joyce. Ron Joyce is still alive, but he sold out the majority
Where
of
is
his
he?
shares.
It's Starbucks of, never
They
everywhere.
had almost 200 in like Vermont, Maine, Massachusetts, and they just didn't catch on, and they closed them all. They put them in different parts of the US. I think they closed 176 branches.
When you go up to.
Now in Canada, we have thousands. In the city I live in, it's a 50,000 city, we're going up to 12. So, it's just, right,
No, go up to Connecticut, Rhode Island, Mass, Vermont, Maine. Dunkin' Donuts by the thousands.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess we're on a bit of a timeline, so we'll get on into the belt cleaners. We can come back if you guys want to, now hopefully I put a belt cleaner brochure in all your binders there.
We have something called,
And, you know, it has a lot to do with the industry and what blade you're gonna use, right? The Dural. I mean, the age-old thing with the belt cleaner, right? Soft cleans better, but you need just like the dual purpose. The strength, the harder, right? Gives it the support. Now, you jump in if there's something you want to see. I've installed, this one is a very unique for the glass industry. I call it the Roman column one. You're not going to see a lot of that. The arm cleaner, you're not going to see a lot of that one. Your main one's going to be these three right here, the yellow, red, and
But
they change their color a bit over the years.
70% of your business will be the yellow blade at the top, the ABC 90. That'll be the probably 70% of the blade applications you run into.
Which
The
one?
other
Yellow
top,
on
the
top.
top yellow one.
ABC 90?
Yeah, that's pretty much a standard one, and like I say, it'll cover probably 70, 80% of your applications you run into. The other 20%, 25% of what you have is ABC 70, the dual color.
And if you have a real problem application, the 1-2 punch, right? The pre-cleaner and the T-cleaner.
Yeah. Now, there's gonna be some consolidation when it comes to our belt cleaners. And what ones we're gonna keep and which ones we're gonna get rid of or discontinue, I can't tell you 100% right now, but the ABC 90 and the other ABC 70, those two cleaners will still be in our product mix. Some of the other stuff you saw in there will probably be taken out. I should say probably, they will be taken out. We've got a new cleaner coming out, and we're gonna debut it at ConExpo in Las Vegas in March. It's gonna be a one-piece blade. It'll be a very simple tensioner system, and it'll be probably half the price of what our standard ones are right now. What's gonna be nice about the one-piece blade, and I've got probably 10 of them in trials right now between Pennsylvania and Ohio right now. The blade itself will also fit a Martin cleaner. So you have replacement blades now to put on Martin cleaners if you want to. So it gives you more sales. How we do these blades, there's a little bit of talk how we're gonna do it. We might sell these one-piece blades in huge blanks. You guys can cut them off, whatever length you need. All you gotta do is cut them off, drill 2 holes, and it's ready to install. It'll fit a Martin holder, it'll fit a Flexco holder on one-piece blade. So our blade will cover like 3 different manufacturers. Don't change anything on their holders, do nothing. All you do is gonna mount our blade, pin it in, and you're off. So it'll be pretty nice once this thing gets released. And I think I was I telling you earlier? Yes. Our goal right now is to have most of these things ready for the general public when it comes to ConExpo. But we have to make sure that we have the literature, the infrastructure, all of this stuff in stock. We don't want people calling up, I want 10 of these cleaners, and we don't have them. So we have to beef up the inventory in the States here, and the design in the final version we've changed the blades twice now in the last year and a half. But the final versions are done. It's just, we get everything done by ConExpo.
So you keep referring to a one-piece blade, it sure looks like if I'm looking at the catalog.
Yeah, that picture,
Those are segmented, go back one slide.
Yeah, they don't have
Go
one
back.
blade in here.
There you go. You leave there. Those are segmented blades.
depends on your belt.
So well, you got a 24-inch belt, 30, 36, depends, these are 6.5 inches wide or something like that. I forget. So depending on what belt, you can stack them in there. What's nice about the segment, a lot of people have pros and cons about segments. The one nice thing, if you damage a blade, you can take it out and put another one in and replace it. If the ends are wearing faster in the center, you can move them around a little bit. A lot of people say, well, it's just easier to just throw the damn thing away and just install a new cassette and go. Yeah, but like I said, there's pros and cons. But if you're looking at a sheer standpoint, getting your best dollar out of your wear, value out of your money you spend, changing segments in the long run is the best application. Now, do our customers do that? Probably not. Let's be realistic about it. They're not going the easiest route, and it's less wear and tear on them. It's easier for them to pull 2 pins out, throw it away, and put another one back in.
The big thing to watch for is overtension, right?
Yep. So,
And I would take it the competition is a one-piece blade.
all one-piece blades. Literally, the last one's coming out one-piece blades, and for a lot of different. Our research and development for cleaners is done by our home office in Trelleborg, Sweden. So what the market is over there is what we get here. We've complained for years, and you guys will find this out. When you get belt cleaners from us, except for the new one coming out, all of our belt cleaners are metric.
All the hardware, everything.
Everything's metric. Belt width's in metric, and we've complained for years. We need imperial. The new cleaners coming out will all be imperial. And there'll be a metric version also.
But Dave, you said you got one of those, you showed me that one out.
I have a 24-inch.
Do you have the whole system here? The tensioner and everything? Did you get it in for a customer or just get it in for?
We just got it in for this promotion and
Okay.
so people can see what it's like and, well, we like to sell it, I think, too, probably.
Well,
Especially since it's gonna get replaced by new cleaners.
you know, I've always,
Was there anything
I've
that
always,
stuck out?
I've always said, you know, that poor thing's probably sitting back there lonely right now.
Mhm.
Should buy a matching pair. They can visit.
It just got here, it's not too lovely yet.
We're going back.
But yeah, I got
Did
told.
anything that any customer has pointed out, or something they liked, or something they didn't like?
Customer's not seen it yet.
Oh, okay.
It just came in. It's been
Let's-
here for 2 days.
Let's talk afterwards, and we might be able to participate a little bit with some promotion for you.
Mhm.
You know, put some little added incentive for your.
But I mean, it's here if
Bring down the
anybody
Tim
wants
Hortons
to
coffee.
see it or.
Hey, I'll give you that shit.
Yeah, I'll carry it down from
And
Canada.
if it's here, if you wanna
All
show
right,
it off,
free cases
hands on or
and-
whatever, like, you know.
No, but I'm a
I mean, I
big,
put it together as much as I can, I mean, I put the cassette on it, but obviously there's separate boxes with all the mounting hardware that it's not
I'm
mounted.
a big person when it comes to promotions, because I know it motivates you guys. I've worked for a distributor for 20 years. And when we represented a lot of companies, ESCO and some other people like that, and, you know, they'd come out with tooth conversions, changing buckets over on excavators and stuff, and wheel loaders and stuff like that, and, you know, you sell a conversion kit for a wheel loader, we're gonna give you, based on what tooth size it was, it could be $50, could be $100. Well, we learned after a while, every wheel loader bucket, that was 2 buckets to us, it was 2 excavator buckets, so we get paid twice now. But yeah, I mean, I like promotions, I like, cause, hey, you guys are motivated by this, we all are. And our wives like it too. That gives them more shoe money.
All right, we'll keep an eye on the clock and move on to,
Let me ask you one more thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
On this, because last time we ran our Flintstone promotion, we promoted, Lovejoy's, Rostec
yeah.
tensioner and belt scraper device. had some real good success with it too.
Yeah.
But of course, that came from a position that we didn't sell anyways.
Okay.
So, we're pretty fresh with that. I have a skeletons in the closet, we're not one. We are flex code, but only
It's not the
recently.
cleaners.
Oh, we're not cleaners.
We're not a
Okay, separate.
BCP distributor.
Yeah,
No.
okay.
Viber is.
No, okay. And, so, what do you sell against Lovejoy and their Rasta tensioner device?
Well, keep in mind when you're looking at cleaners, I mean, everybody has a cleaner. They all do basically the same thing. If, and I emphasize if, they're installed properly. 90% of the cleaners that are sold and installed are done wrong. And then it says, it won't clean. Well, no shit, excuse me, am I cussing here? So, you know,
Overtension is
It's
one
not
of
the
the first
NFL, go ahead.
main things.
okay, but yeah, I mean, nine times out of 10, cleaners are misapplied, not installed properly, over-tensioned. Our cleaner is a problem solver cleaner. Find the worst, nastiest application you can find. We will come out and help you install it and make sure it's installed properly. Our instructions and the templates we provide in the kits, pretty much, unless you can't read, I mean, you can't mess it up. But that pitch and that angle and where you mount it is so important. I mean, you can be off, it might look good to you, it could be off by half an inch, and you can't see it's off by half an inch, and it won't clean. I've seen people have them too close to the pulley, so now you got the tip of the cleaner, here's your face, and your pulley like this, and the tip's out like that, all the material's going in inside. They wonder why their blades are wearing in half down below. I've seen people install them backwards. I've seen it all over my days. But it's very, very critical. And I can't stress enough when it comes to cleaners that you've got to install them properly. And it can be, like I say, it can be off just a little bit and it won't clean. And then it's our fault because it's not cleaning.
Do you have a installation, video on your website by any chance?
No. What we do have is some older stuff, it's, or you don't install the silver line cleaner. But I can make sure we get the proper tools for you, that you can install it. Like I
The
said,
instructions that come with that cleaner are very
Are
specific and
it gives you a pitch and angle and
you gotta
measurements and
follow
everything.
along, it tells you what tools you're gonna need,
Yeah.
tells you everything you're
Yeah.
gonna need, and
And quite frankly, I tell people, and, I've covered the Midwest for years, I've covered the Northeast for years, and now I'm covering back on airplanes again, but, I always went out with our new distributors and help install them, show them. I don't care, I find it fun to go out and install stuff once in a while. I mean, I'm not the greatest at doing it, but I can make sure it's done right. Cause you give me a torch and a wrench,
In the early '90s, when these cleaners first came out, I was a CSR, and we had a Dutch fellow out in the field, Herb Groten for it. And a French lady called in, she was trying to install it, and she had a hard time with the tension. And he said to her, in a French accent, he said, "How do you like to be kissed?" And she kind of, "What do you mean how do I?" Well, he said, "You don't like to be kissed too hard, you like to be kissed softly." That's with the tensioning, don't over tension, because once you start to do it too hard, just gonna wear the blade and it's gonna fail, right? So, I don't know if that's a good analogy or not, but it helped her, right? And with the language barrier, it was something she could understand.
you can imagine on a belt cleaner, it should be like 6.5 pounds when you pull back on the cleaner. How do you justify 6.5 pounds? I mean, you can pretty much, if you can pull it back pretty easily, like off that head pulley, it's too loose. If you strain yourself and try to pull it back, it's too tight. And what happens when you get it too tight, the blades just want to go like this. And you get it too loose, they just want to float. And they don't want to actually stick to that belt. So.
And
if you
going
can-
back
if you can-
and checking it over a period of time, not just doing it and walking away, which a lot of guys think they are doing, right, Todd?
Well, gonna be quiet, I talk too much.
Which one do you guys wanna go on to next? We'll, wanna go on to the impact stations?
Sure.
Okay, so our standard impact bars come in 4 and 5 foot lengths with either a 1/2 inch or a 1 inch cap. The 1/2 inch is the most popular in the Canadian market.
Show me what the cap is, Mike.
What's that?
Show me what the cap is.
Right here. Alright, 1/2 inch or 1 inch. And 1/2 inch in the Canadian market has been the staple. Right?
What's that?
In our market, it's 1/2 inch.
1/2 inch is probably.
Your market in the US predominantly.
That's 3 inches, what it is just basically a aluminum extrusion. 3 inches, and overall height will be 3 inches of either UHMW or rubber, minus a 1/2 inch or 1 inch. We make these bars ourselves. We make them in our plant, we make them in 2 different plants right now. One's in Irapuato, Mexico, and one's in Trelleborg, Sweden. For the majority, all of ours comes from Irapuato, Mexico, at our Metso facility down there. You know, Metso, or Trellex, is a rubber company. Trelleborg rubber, everyone's heard of Trelleborg rubber. All we did, we bought the rubber side from Trelleborg years ago for mill linings, impact bars, and that type of stuff. Trelleborg still makes the mix, the rubber mix for us. It's just down the street from our office in Trelleborg, Sweden. So, you know, we like to say we're one of the very few people that make our own bars. Not many people make their own bars.
These are in the area where the belt's initially getting loaded, coming out of whatever the screen or the crusher or what
Yeah,
have you.
correct.
Below the hopper.
And then your regular idlers will continue from after that.
Keep in mind that our bars will actually fit other people's frames too.
I could tell a story about stamping for other people, but I won't tell that story.
Yeah, well, we stand.
I discovered them out in the warehouse one day.
We made, you guys all heard Martin Cleaners. We made the bars for Martin for probably 20 years. And we quit doing it probably, well, when we closed down our facility in Keokuk,
Yeah.
Iowa. We closed it down and quit buying from us.
Martin, by the way, guys, it's not the Martin Spry that you're,
No.
it's another Martin.
This frame design was actually developed by one of our technical guys, Kevin McCrow. You guys will likely meet him somewhere in the future. And what was happening was, it's for ease of installation. Sometimes it would be hard to get to the other side. So he wanted to come up and make it a little easier for the maintenance guys to be able to pull that out and be able to change the bars out. But basically, you just gotta grab a handle on each frame, right? Bolt it, grab it out. Good design. Kevin likes doing stuff like that, he was proud of himself.
Mike, that's a side fold down right there.
Yeah, but well, I'm not, we'll go to the next one and it should show the,
There's the side
there's
fold
the,
out.
yeah. I'm still getting used to my progressives, leave me alone. Yeah, there's Kevin's design right there.
Between the two, they both, you know, real quick, I'll explain between the two. Go back to the first one, Mike. They both have their place. This one here is a standard one. We sell the majority of them. It's nice because all you gotta do is loosen the bolts, this thing just lays down, and you can work on it. The bad thing is, the bars have to come out long ways. You gotta slide them out. Or, unless you wanna really take every single bolt out, just pick it up and take it off. A lot of people just wanna slide the bars out and replace them like that. Yeah, it's easy, it takes some time, it makes it kinda rough. But then you can just lift the belt right back up, put it back, and it's together. Then I go to the side pull-out. Side pull-out's great, because you can just pull it out, but here's the one problem. People are putting these things in and forgot about their skirt board and all their hangers. They went to pull them out, oh shit, because everything's obstructed in their way, because they put everything else back on after they put the bed in. So you need a 4-foot, 5-inch span, a clear opening, or you'll never pull it out. And what's nice about this, you can pull it out to here, put the bolt back in, and just have it hang right there and work on it. So it makes it kind of nice. That one, the side pullout's probably about 50% stronger than the side fold down. So when you've got bigger rocks, and I'm saying 10-inch plus, 12-inch plus, dropping 4, 8, 10 foot, go with side pullout. If they don't want to go with side pullout, go back to that side fold down. You get big rocks that come in here, in between these frames, these bars want to bend. Rocks will hit them. We made that simple. Add a fifth frame. I got a 4-footer, comes with 4 frames. Shorten that span up in there to get that, so you don't get those dips in there. Put the frames all together and add one more. Because 5 frames will fit on a 4-foot bar. And we'll sell extra frames. That way you got those pads almost up against each other, and you don't have that gap in between where the bars can bend.
And you will get customers who will want 6 foot, and we can go 4 foot and a 2 foot.
We'll make any configuration you want when it comes to impact bends. But keep in mind, we don't want to go anything past usually 6 foot on a span. Because what happens is you get too much friction on that belt laying on that thing. And it just has too much of it sitting and gripping that thing. So usually what we say, every 4 or 5 foot, especially 5 foot, put a roller in between your impact stations. Just put a trough roller in there.
Here's what you were talking about with the ceiling. Well, there's an example of how you've got your sealer coming down. Have you sold a lot of the sealing systems?
Nope.
I haven't sold a lot of them in Canada. It tends to be an application specific. Belt conductor.
We do cover that one.
Huh? Yeah. You guys, well, they've never come across a belt conductor at all, right? Number one purpose, right? Training the belt, right? It basically automatically keeps it coming back.
You guys have all seen trainers on conveyors, and you've seen how trainers work. You know, go back, Mike. Trainers, that thing has to be pretty much cocked all the way to one way before that belt tries to push it back over. So it's got to be cocked pretty good before it wants to cock itself back. That thing's always working, you know, it could be 10 inches off before it tries to bring it back. With the belt conductor, it just works constantly. That belt moves a 1/4 inch, that conductor's constantly trying to center it. And where you mount these is about 10 foot before the tail pulley. And that's where you want to track a belt. Because if the belt isn't tracked going off the tail pulley, it won't be tracked on the top side. So you want to get as straight as you can leading into that tail pulley, so when it comes up on top, it's straight. That belt conductor, 10 foot, 8 to 10 foot, somewhere in there, but it works constantly. That thing just sits there and moves constantly. That belt moves a 1/4 inch, it brings it right back immediately. What's nice about the belt conductor, one size fits all. All you gotta change is a roller in. Have a conductor for an 18-inch belt, put an 18-inch roller in. You wanna make a 42-inch belt, put a 42-inch roller in. Once you get to 48, we put a spacer in it to make it more wider. And then you put a 54 or 60 in it. What's nice about that is, customer has a 24-inch belt. Can't track it, bring a conductor in, solve the problem. 2 years down the road, for some reason, they change that conveyor out and they want to put a 30 or 36-inch belt in it. Still use a conductor, just put a 36-inch roll in it. But it works constantly, all the time. That belt, like I say, when that belt moves a 1/4 inch, it brings it right back immediately. There's nothing of having to swing out there and shove it back at one time. It's a problem solver. It does not replace troughing idlers, trainers on trough side. So if you have a customer who wants to have, he's putting a new 500-foot conveyor in, you still got to put trough trainers in there. You cannot just say, I'm not going to do trough trainers and put a belt conductor in. That's not what it's there for.
So it's on the return side.
It's on the return side, but it's a problem solver. It doesn't replace trough trainers or return trainers. So don't think you can put a 500-foot conveyor in and not put any trainers on, and you can fix the problem, or just put a conductor on it and it's gonna fix the problem. No, it won't work that way. You still gotta put every 200 foot some type of trainer, a trough trainer or a return trainer. This is only a problem solver. If you got a customer that he's tried everything, because we've all seen it, most of these conveyors in these sand and gravel pits and limestone quarries or wherever, they do get hit occasionally with loaders. They'll tell you it never got hit, they'll tell you it's straight as can be. But that's what the belt conductor was out there for. It was a problem-solving solution to a customer-specific need when he could not train a belt.
All right, let's move on to holdbacks. External backstop, you guys seen these?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, prevent the conveyor from going backwards, in line, under load. I mean, a lot of guys will say, well, I've got it built into my drive or whatever, but there is actually, right, it's an external, it's a safety issue. I mean, there's oftentimes now where the courts have decided, right, this was available on the market, somebody should have had this to prevent an accident, right? That's actually got us some business over the years, right, Todd?
Yeah, we've been making these holdbacks for 50 years probably.
Yeah,
We
they
started
were,
out with the standard, the ND was